Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for it to hit 4 o'clock and for everyone to join. I'm just going to put a poll up. Let me just see how I do that. Oh, I've just lost my poll. It didn't work. I can't see it now. I just can't get the little button. Oh, because Maureen's the host. Maureen, because you're the host, I think you have to do it now.
Okay. Do I click?
So, can you see where it says poll for you? If you click on more, it'll say poll. And if you click on that.
Yeah. And I see all starred. What do I?
Yeah, and if you click, yep, that's it. If you click that, that'll open up the poll.
Launch.
Yes, that's it. There you go. We got there. So just as you're coming in, see if you can answer the questions in the poll, just how familiar you are with using Little Learners Love Literacy. All right, we might make a start. Sorry about our tech difficulties, but I think we got there in the end. Welcome to our webinar today, an introduction to Little Learners Love Literacy. My name is Suzanne and I'm a teacher coach at Little Learners Love Literacy. I began teaching over 20 years ago, and like many schools at the time, we were deeply entrenched in a whole language approach. And while the method was really popular, I found it very challenging to grasp how children truly learn to read and spell, and I personally didn't find any joy in teaching literacy. However, as I took on roles as a learning and teaching leader and deputy principal, I had the opportunity to guide teachers in adopting a systematic synthetic phonics approach, and the shift made a remarkable difference. I witnessed more engaging learning experiences that followed a teaching sequence. Teachers were able to collect and analyse data to inform their whole class teaching and also to identify any students who needed extra support. More students were engaged and learning, and less students were being referred for intervention outside of the classroom. I know your time is precious. I thank you for joining the webinar today, both those who are attending live and those who are watching the recording. My goal today is to support you with an introduction to Little Learners Love Literacy. We'll talk about some professional learning, our teaching resources, our practice and application games, our decodable books, our intervention resources for older students, some assessments for reading and spelling. We also have Maureen Pollard with us today. She is the founder of Little Learners Love Literacy. She will be with us for the duration of the webinar to answer any questions in the Q&A. If you do have a question during the presentation, feel free to write it in the Q&A section, or you can raise your hand at the end and we can unmute you and you can ask your question live. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea and community. I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So learning to read and spell is not natural, nor is it easy for many children. Little Learners Love Literacy is an explicit teaching program designed to get all children to read and spell with confidence. It uses evidence-informed systematic synthetic phonics to ensure that every child can succeed. So on the screen, you can see what our program resources consist of. We have professional learning, we have teacher activity resource books, and Little Learners Online with weekly plans, linked slides and resources, as well as access to our online e-library. We have decodable books, practice and application games, intervention resources for older students, and assessment for reading and spelling. So Little Learners Love Literacy teaches phonemic awareness and phonics for reading and spelling. And we do teach spelling from the very beginning of the program alongside reading. We teach morphology for spelling and comprehension, handwriting, and vocabulary, which is vital for reading comprehension, and oral language skills, which is the foundation upon which all of our literacy learning is built. So in today's webinar, we'll have a quick introduction into phonics, and then we'll explore our scope and sequence and resources. So what is phonics? Phonics is the understanding that the sounds in our spoken language, the phonemes, can be expressed by letters or combinations of letters, graphemes, as part of our written language. A phoneme is a speech sound that we say or hear. There are 44 phonemes in English, depending on your accent, and these sounds combine to make up all spoken words. A grapheme is a letter or a group of letters that we read or write. It can be one letter, or you could have a group of 2 or 3 or even 4 graphemes or letters representing the one sound. So there are multiple graphemes for each phoneme, over 250 graphemes in fact. So it's also the ability to use this knowledge, and we know, and this is known as the alphabetic code, to read and spell words. So Little Learners Love Literacy explicitly teaches systematic synthetic phonics, that is the teaching of the relationship between phonemes and graphemes in a clear and logical order, so that children can synthesize phonemes to read words or blend them together to read words accurately from a really early point without any guessing. So how do we read and spell using phonics? So teaching phonics is giving someone instructions of how to crack the alphabetic code. And the alphabetic code can work in 2 directions. Firstly, you can decode words by matching the print to sounds. You can say each sound in the written word and then blend the sounds together to read the word. Or you can encode by matching the sounds to print, so segmenting and identifying each sound in the word before writing the letters that represent these sounds. So the example on the screen that you can see is cat. When I'm decoding, when I'm reading the word cat, I see the letters C-A-T. I know that they make the sound k-at, and then I say the word cat. If I'm encoding, if I'm spelling, I might hear the word cat. I can break that into its sounds, k-at, and then I can attach a grapheme to each of those sounds. So in this case, C-A-T, and then I'd write the word. So even though spelling is a more difficult skill and it takes longer to master, reading, decoding, and spelling and coding are flip sides of the same coin, making systematic synthetic phonics a very efficient teaching approach, because spelling is taught from the very beginning alongside reading using that same alphabetic code. So on the screen, you'll see our 7-stage sequence. We do have a stage 8 that we have introduced this year. And we introduce the simple letter sound relations gradually, introducing the complex alphabetic code, multiple spellings of consonants and vowel phonemes. So at Little Learners, we teach all 44 phonemes in a systematic order, starting with sounds children find easier to articulate and blend together to make words, a range of common spellings for each phoneme. So there are hundreds of grapheme phoneme correspondences in the English language, but we focus on the most common ones to give students access to more words at a faster rate. Phonemic awareness and phonics skills, which are taught throughout the program every day. And we teach both pure phonemic awareness, so just the oral, as well as phonemic awareness and phonics together with the letters. The more alphabetic code knowledge or letter knowledge children master, the more combined phonemic and phonics work is done, and this is recommended by research. So this is where our teaching sequence comes in. Each stage is designed to move students' knowledge and skills on in small steps, building on the last. The scope and sequence is the core learning content at Little Learners Love Literacy. As I said before, there are hundreds of grapheme phoneme correspondences in the English language, but we're focusing on the most common ones to give students access to more words at a faster rate. So in term 1 of foundation, the children learn the simple code where there is one sound to one grapheme correspondence. That's in term 1 and term 2. In term 3 and term 4, the students learn that 2 letters make one sound called a digraph. They learn the skill of blending adjacent consonants in words, and where the focus continues to be on blending quickly while also adding to the cognitive load. Students move from 3 sounds in a word, so consonant, vowel, consonant, or CVC, to 4+ sounds when reading and spelling. In stages +4 and 5, students are introduced to morphology. S, ES, and ED suffixes are introduced. In Year 1, we move on to systematically teaching long vowels and alternative spellings, and we teach the most common graphemes and associated spelling rules where relevant. So, for example, for A, we teach A as in snail and A as in clay. And we also teach the children that AI is never at the end of the word. We also cover the less common spellings for A as in they, A as in eight, A as in straight for those students who need to be extended. We also, in Year 1, teach homophones, R-controlled vowels, and morphology. So the UN prefix and suffixes like ER and ING, along with the doubling rule and the drop the E rule. So this brings us now to the Year 2 sequence. In Term 1 of Year 2, we're aiming to consolidate the complex alphabetic code that was taught in Year 1 with a particular focus on spelling. In Terms 2 and 3, we're looking at Stage 7, Unit 5. And this is where we have our unit that focuses mostly on morphology and introduces the final of the 3 spelling rules of Y to I. At the end of Term 3 and into Term 4, we have Stage 8, which is a new stage we've introduced this year. The unit is entirely focused on morphology, so systematically teaching new prefixes and suffixes while revising previously learned content for phonics and morphology. So the content in our teaching sequence is taught explicitly throughout the program. Explicit teaching means that we never ask learners to do anything that they haven't been taught and practiced with the help of the teacher and their peers. And as educators, we make no assumptions. At its very basic level, it's the I do, we do, you do. And we check for understanding at each of these stages and tweak accordingly. So whether that's through reteaching, doing more worked examples together, or spending longer on independent practice and application, arranging for some extra instruction or intervention for those 1 or 2 students who may be struggling to keep up and grasp the new content. For this to work effectively, your learning intentions or your learning objectives have to be really specific and achievable, and each lesson is planned in a logical sequence that builds little bit by little bit. Small steps do keep the bulk of the students progressing together, and they make it easier for you to identify any issues and address them. Additionally, we have effective explicit teaching that uses little learners through, there are many advantages of these instructional routines, and we'll talk more about them as they help the students to manage those small steps while also managing their cognitive load. So to introduce instructional routines, these help to reduce the cognitive load for students. They boost their motivation, and they're crucial for making learning stick because they really help students to learn new things faster by focusing on the what, not the how. They reduce the amount of new information that students have to process, which reduces the cognitive load for students. They help to keep students' attention, and they also reduce teacher planning time as well as teachers' cognitive load. The grid that you can see on the screen can be downloaded from our website. It matches each of our little learners' teaching routines, resources, and activities with these skills and with the skills and knowledge that you can see on the screen. So oral language, phonemic awareness, phonics for decoding and encoding, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and handwriting. Each of the Little Learners routines is scripted, and you'll find this in the Little Learners playbook, which is at the beginning of each of our teacher activity resource books. So this is our explicit teaching routine. We use the principles of revise, teach, practice, apply to explicitly teach children in the classroom. Our plans follow this explicit structure every day. These are the teacher activity resources, and they are really important to guide you with your teaching. Each of the resources contain a weekly overview, background information, a summary of the knowledge and skills that will be covered, has the daily learning focus, as well as the weekly plan with the routines for each day, using that revise, teach, practice, apply, and review that I showed previously. And there's also teacher notes that provide additional support. So this is what the weekly plan looks like on the online platform with the linked slides and resources, and you can download the weekly plan and resources you need for the week here. So you can see some of the resources that we would need for the program. This is a stage 1, but it can be applied to all stages in the scope and sequence. So first of all, we revise to ensure automatic recall of taught phoneme grapheme correspondences. We teach by identifying in the where we're at in the Little Learners sequence and what to teach next. We want to plan how the children will practice this skill to reach mastery. They then apply their knowledge to read decodable stories and some independent writing. And then we use the LARS and the LAS as our formal assessment tools, but we also monitor progress and establish learning pathways with things like check for understanding throughout every aspect of the Little Learners teaching model. So now we're going to have a look at some of these routines in more detail and some of the resources available in the program. So a short phonemic warm-up is scheduled at the start of every Little Learners lesson in stages 1 to 4 every day, and then 4 times a week in stages +4, 5, and 6. We do some pure phonemic work, so blending and segmenting with Ali the alligator, who only speaks in sounds. And there's various Ali Talk activities that get children moving as well as honing their foundational phonemic skills. We also have Robot Walk, which is a phonological awareness at the syllable level routine. And we have some other routines and activities scheduled as well. Some of our revised instructional routines include our speed sounds and chants and our speed words. And we also revise previously taught concepts here and heart words as required. So here's what speed sounds and chants look like. This is where we're revising previously taught graphemes and phonemes.
What a mess. Huff and puff. Up the hill. Ooh. Black duck. K. Shed shop. Shh. Chicken and chips.
So now we're going to move on to the teach component of our lessons. A number of explicit routines and activities to work through here. We have Soundbox, we have Milo's birthday surprise, we have decoding and choral reading, we have handwriting instruction, we have super spelling, sound swap, and spelling on mini whiteboards. So Little Learners is a multisensory language approach. We begin a lesson by getting the children to hear the focus sound, articulate it, see it, so read it, and then finally explicitly teach the children how to write it. We begin our lesson with a sound box designed to introduce the new phoneme or sound. The activity is at the beginning to build the awareness of the sound, that phonemic awareness, before linking the sound to a letter, the phonics. The teacher puts a range of objects or pictures that begin with that focus sound into the box, and then the children take turns to take out an object and identify it. So we have a magnet, a muffin, some maracas, a mushroom, and a mandarin. So not only is it a great opportunity for children to hear the sound and articulate it themselves, but it is a great opportunity to develop vocab and some concept knowledge. After the children have identified the focus sound, then we clearly state our learning intention. The sound is students might even look at the mirror. What are your lips doing? Little hand mirrors can be really useful in the classroom for this. And we use the sound box all throughout our scope and sequence. In stages 1 to 4, we use Milo's birthday surprise, which is a picture storybook, as a platform to introduce students to the graphemes of the simple code. Here is a clip of what it looks like on our online platform.
It is a Monday morning in March, and it's Milo the monkey's birthday. Milo is munching on a muffin while he makes up a list of friends who might come and play. Mug, mobile, muffin, mouse, milk, moon.
So you can see the features of the text. We have alliteration, we have phonemic awareness, with the children being able to identify those multiple objects that start with there's a distinction between the upper and the lower case representation of the letter. It's a fun and engaging picture storybook, and there's a great storyline as well. We also explicitly teach handwriting. All of our handwriting routines and handwriting scripts are in our teacher activity resource book. They can also be downloaded from the free download section on our website. The scripts and the teaching routines are taught in the context of the teacher modelling with a pen on a whiteboard and include instructions about starting points. These are all included in the handwriting activity sheets. You can see the description on the screen based on the Sassoon infant font, and this is our preferred font at Little Learners. However, we do have individual state fonts that you can also use. Little Learners Online has a video, has video support to assist you with modelling this to your students.
Lowercase a is a short letter. Start at the top, curve all the way around and up. Then go down to the line. Pencil off. Lowercase I is a short letter. Start at the top and go down to the line. Pencil off, then make a dot. Say the sound. A.
So now we're going to move on to super spelling. This is a wonderful whole class routine. It provides an opportunity for students to get their bodies moving, and it's a really good opportunity for teachers to make the most of error correction. There are two ways that you can do the super spelling. The first is the word building and the second is sound swap. So you can see in the image, the teacher hands out cards and then she would dictate a word. The class then segments the word and the children with the sounds in that word stand up and spell the word at the front. The teacher leads the class to sound out and blend the word to check their spelling. And then the children can correct any errors as a class and the teacher can provide any feedback required. Spelling on mini whiteboards is a great progression from the very scaffolded super spelling. In this activity, the teacher will dictate a word. You'll notice the correlation between these words and the words that are used for the super spelling. The children will segment the word and then write it on their whiteboard. It's a really good example of the I do, we do, you do that we discussed previously. So now we're going to move into our practice routines. These are more scaffolded teacher-led practice with small groups. They could include things like let's spell, let's write, read and grab or sound swap, as well as handwriting, sound and write, read, write, draw, and some decodable quizzes. I'll take you through each of these routines and resources to support you getting the most out of implementing with your class. So the first is let's spell. So firstly, you're going to hand out a copy of the Let's Spell sheet to each child. And you start the Let's Spell by saying the first word in the list and putting it in a sentence. So the first word is red, traffic light is red, red. Then you'd say to the children, what's the word? And the children repeat the word red. Then from the selection of letters, they will need to circle the correct grapheme, and you can see this demonstrated on the slides. And we also want to make sure that the children are saying the sounds as they circle the letters, d. Students then write the word. And during this time, as a teacher, you're going to watch and listen and ensure that the correct graphemes are being circled and vocalised, and you want to correct any mistakes as they happen because this is teaching time. Once the students have written all the words, they might read their list of words. They might start at the top and read to the bottom, or start at the bottom and read to the top. Students then fold the page on the dotted line and the teacher dictates the word without any scaffolding or sentences. The students then write the words. They can do this out of order. And once they've written all the words, they can check if they have spelt the words correctly just by opening out their piece of paper. This routine is fantastic. It allows the children to feel really successful and it helps to build their confidence and engagement. We have dictation with varying levels of difficulty at each stage. You can see the different stages on the screen, and you can see how the complexity of the content increases as children move from the simple code to the more complex code. We also have a routine called sound and write. You can see the progression of sound and write as we move along the sequence. In stage 7.1, you can see that the children are practicing 2 phoneme-grapheme correspondences. They're also practicing handwriting as they say the sound, and they're decoding the target, decoding words with that target grapheme phoneme correspondence. So initially they're decoding a sentence, but they would then progress to encoding, so writing their own sentence and then illustrating to demonstrate some comprehension. Here are some of the different handwriting routines that we have, which include rainbow writing and handwriting that you can see on your screen. And as I said before, all of our handwriting comes in Sassoon and State fonts. All of the practice routines for the teacher activity resource book can be found in practice workbooks. These are just printed resources that might be more convenient to some schools, and they act as a good record of progress and work completed in the one place. So we currently have stages 1 to 4 and the remaining stages +4, 5 and stage 7 coming soon. So keep an eye out for those. We do have many practice and apply games that you can see on the screen. Read and Grab word game is a fun card game for 2 to 6 players. It gives children lots of practice decoding and blending to read words using their phonics knowledge. Children often call this game the thief game. If a player has a word card with a matching colour and character, then they can grab or steal the card if they can read it. So there's lots of rereading of the cards as they go backwards and forwards. The aim is to collect the set of 5 matching cards. Once you have 5 cards, you have a set and no one can take them from you, they're yours. So it's a quick competitive game. It does encourage the children to read the single words with automaticity and consolidate the phonics that you have taught to date. Sound Swap is an interactive word game that teaches the children how to use letters to make, manipulate and read words through word chains. The game comes with a corresponding book that has the word chains from stage 1 all the way to stage 7. Another routine that we have is read, write and draw. It sounds simple enough, but let's unpack the procedure quickly. So the children select a card, they read it, they might reread it to a partner. They write it, so they can either turn it over or have it in front of them for guidance. The children then read their writing back and make any corrections, and they can refer to the card as needed. And then the children draw a picture to show their comprehension of what they've written. So you can see the example on the screen. It's a great opportunity to build vocabulary. There's lots of words with multiple meanings, great independent reading, spelling, handwriting, comprehension routine. And there are 3 levels of challenge for that differentiation. So words, phrases, and sentences. So moving on now to some additional decoding practice with our decodable quizzes. These are unique and simple quizzes, but they give children practice reading short decodable questions that are matched to the teaching sequence and are really perfect for that sentence level reading practice. The questions are fun and quirky. They provide a good springboard for some interesting discussions that develop oral language, vocab and comprehension. We do have the Whiz Kids quiz. It has 120 large format illustrated question cards that are linked to the Whiz Kids series from stages 1 to 4. We have Tim's quiz, which contains 170 question cards linked to the Pip and Tim stages of +4, 5 and 6. And we have our Little Learners Big World decodable quiz. So we've got stages 7.1 and 7.2 on the screen, but we've recently just released 7.3 and 7.4 together. So the Little Learners Big World quiz is a great springboard for interesting discussions and again, developing that oral language and vocabulary. Students can use the quizzes as partner play or as part of a whole class procedure. So then we apply by reading our decodable books, and that can be through small group reading, independent reading, partner reading, and whole class choral reading. So we use decodable books in this part of our lesson. We use decodable books throughout our program. Decodable books are stories or texts written for young or struggling learners who are learning to read by decoding, so sounding out and blending sounds to read words. Each decodable book only uses the sounds and letters that the children have been explicitly taught to date. So they provide maximum repetition of the new letters and sounds that are taught that week. They avoid predictable sentence structures. They use age-appropriate and interesting vocabulary. They're engaging and meaningful. They're continuous text that allows the reader to build that vocab and their comprehension skills and build their fluency. And our decodable books use a small number of heart words. So our guiding principle is that children should never be asked to read something that is too difficult for them or that they don't have the skills to read. So we ensure that students have the necessary tools to read before they even pick up one of our decodable books. Heart words that I mentioned before are words that are not decodable for the reader yet. So often we need students to read and spell regular high-frequency words before they've had a chance to learn the phonics pattern. A good example is the word for. This is a regular common word, but students generally need to read it before they've explicitly been taught R-controlled vowels like OR. And so when teaching this, we would mark the or part of the word with a heart. And the little learners' heart words help to construct meaningful sentences in our decodable books. They are an important component as it does allow children to read more connected text independently more quickly. Saying that, we still explicitly teach heart words. Even though children cannot fully decode these words, we teach them by breaking the words into their phonemes and we explain which bit is the unknown bit. It may become decodable later in the program. We don't teach them by memorising the shape of the word or by any other memorisation strategy. So on the screen, you can see the heart word my. This is from stages 1 and 2. You can split the word into its two sounds, I. Where the children know a grapheme phoneme correspondence, we'd acknowledge that. So in this case, they know that in my, and then we'd give them the unknown bit. And you could mark the grapheme with a heart if you like. At the early stages, if all the grapheme phoneme correspondences are unknown, that's okay. We just want to ensure that the children can orally segment the words into the phonemes. And you can refer to our teacher activity resource books and our other resources for support. So just introducing our decodable series. Our original series is the Pip and Tim series. It's all about the Zan family of Box Hill, which comprises of brother and sister Tim and Pip, their mum Jen, dad Ron, and their pets Sam and Tip. Children love the continuity of the adventures of Pip and Tim as they find out more about their lives, their teachers and friends, who include some very naughty Smith twins, Beth and Seth. This is what it looks like on the inside of a stages 1 to 4 decodable Pip and Tim text. And then this is what it looks like on the inside of our +4, 5 and 6 texts. And here is a stage 7, the insides of the Pip and Tim here. We also have another series called the Whiz Kids series. They have different characters for each stage, but they still match our little learners' scope and sequence. And there's a lot of diversity and humour here as well. It's a fun and funky series of decodable books, again, providing that reading practice matched to the little learner's sequence. New characters are introduced at every stage, and this helps to keep the students engaged and provides that variety. And the stories are perfect for children to continue developing their decoding skills and fluency. And there's plenty to discuss and explore. Little Learners Big Worlds. So this is our decodable non-fiction series. It will inspire your curious little learners. It does cover a range of cross-curricular topics and text types, and they're packed full of rich vocabulary as well. So children will build their content knowledge and vocabulary, and we know this is vital for comprehension. And we also see some non-fiction text features throughout the series. So there's labels, captions, fact files, you've got contents and headings, tables, indexes, diagrams, and infographics throughout. So this is what it looks like on the inside pages of a stages 1 to 4 decodable text. And you can see lots of those text features there as well. This is our newest series of decodable books, The Wild Detectives. It's a playful series of adventure-packed stories and informative non-fiction books. So The Wild Detectives are a group of furry friends. They solve cases and explore the world around them. Each stage has a combination of 3 fiction and 2 non-fiction titles. There's lots of tier 2 or interesting vocabulary that's used throughout both the fiction and non-fiction contexts to build that comprehension. And we also have included a read to me books that explore the wild detectives and their backstory. And children can bring these books home from the very first day of school before they've completed that stage 1 instruction. The Read to Me books are designed to be read by parents or carers to the children, and they have a range of questions and supports to assist to develop language comprehension and vocabulary development. And this is what it looks like on the inside of our stages 1 to 4 Wild Detective series. And keep an eye out for some more stages of our Wild Detectives. So Fluency Fun is a new and integral resource for teaching the Year 2 program. We recommend to use daily in the Apply section of the lesson. Every text is decodable for the stage and it focuses on the morpheme or grapheme taught that day. So you can see that at the moment we have 2 for stage 7 review, Slime Time and Poodle and Power Poodle, and then stage 7 unit 5 part 1. We have Rex's Treasure and Perfect Surfing. We have Looperland and the Bear's Hair, and we also have Danny's Assignment and Be Sensible for stage 8. That will be coming soon. This is a bit of a look at what it looks like on the inside. So on days 1 to 4, we have partner reading, so Monday to Thursday partner reading. There's various text types that children can explore. There's short stories, non-fiction text, fluency pyramids, comic strips. The children read the text as with a partner, following our partner reading routine, and then they reread the text to complete the find, answer, write sheet. They also do some small group reading and writing, and we know that they can use the Fluency Fun text in the small group. Repeated reading builds that fluency. There's opportunity in that small group to model, provide feedback and practice, and really support students on their area of need. On day 5, we have 1 text per week. So on a Friday, it's our class readers theatre. It's either a dialogue, play, script, a poem, or a song. Just to answer that question that's popped up in the Q&A, there's a variety of text types, fiction and non-fiction, throughout the Fluency Fun series. We practice the text as a class, discuss any comprehension questions that are suggested in the teacher activity resource, and the students then practice their performance for the readers theatre, and the teacher might select some students to perform to the class, and the class might provide some feedback. Fox Kid is our decodable chapter books series, and it also follows our scope and sequence. They have been specifically designed to use as an intervention tool to help our older struggling readers. This is a look at what they look like on the inside. You can see that they are a very simple decodable text, but there's a high level of interest for our readers. We also have a student workbook and a game called Kablam that accompanies each of the chapter books with a focus on phonics and writing skills. Our home reading journals will help parents and carers to establish and maintain a regular reading routine using the decodable books and library books that are sent home from school. So you can send the journal home with decodable books for children to read to their parents and library books for parents to read to their children. There's some tips and helpful hints for parents that they can use to discuss with their children as they read. The children or parents fill in the reading log each night that they read together. Each night is numbered and the children achieve some rewards and activities after every 25 nights of reading. So in addition to our ongoing formative assessment, where teachers will gain naturally through the use of the Little Learners program by checking for understanding, whole class teaching and reviews, student written work, and small group observations. There are 2 formal assessments in our Little Learners toolkit. We have the LAS, the Little Learners Assessment of Reading Skills, our reading assessment, and the LAS, the Little Learners Assessment of Spelling Skills, our spelling assessment. So the 2 assessments will provide you with a robust data set from which you can plan your whole class teaching as well as your intervention, and it will support you in how you're going to assess and monitor students' skills, identify in diagnostic detail the specific needs of each student, demonstrate what students know and their ability to apply their knowledge to spell and read, and provide a formal assessment and ongoing record of the skills achieved. So before we wrap up today's webinar, I'd like to share with you a case study. We do have several on our website that you can view in your own time, to hear from other schools about what it's been like implementing Little Learners Love Literacy. But I'll show you this one from Lisa now.
My name is Lisa Bellman-Ansell. I'm the reading specialist at New Gisborne Primary School. In 2017, at the end of term 3, I had over a third of the foundation cohort referred to me as at risk of not going to reach end of year benchmark levels. So a school with really hardworking, dedicated teachers, we couldn't get over a third of our foundation cohort to minimum statewide standards. So obviously things needed to change. I chose Little Learners because it was really fun and engaging for the students. It was very easy to follow for the teachers. It practiced the 6 key components of effective reading instruction. It was a systematic synthetic phonics approach, which is what all of the bulk of the research was telling me. The catalyst was really the Decodable books, so that my students were able to apply what they were learning in context. So firstly, I implemented Little Learners into my tiers 2 and 3 support program. And then after learning quite a bit about the program, I then implemented it into the tier 1 or the whole classroom program in 2018. I found the implementation process actually quite easy. So first I did the initial teacher training, and then I found Little Learners to be really open. The support didn't stop at the end of the training. It's very much ongoing. So I was able to contact Little Learners anytime I had a question, and they would always answer me in a very detailed way, in a very timely fashion. Yeah, in a nutshell, it is happy and confident Little Learners. So we just don't have the amount of reluctant readers because all of our students are experiencing success. And we've really been able to reduce those instructional casualties. So like I said at the beginning, we started off with over 33% of our students at risk of not reaching end of year standards. We've been able to reduce that down to around about 5%. We've also seen a significant increase in our spelling data. And of course, the flow-on effect means that our writing composition is really, really strong. If I was to implement Little Learners, again, if I had my time over, I would ensure that everyone was on board, that the whole school was PD'd in the science of reading, the why we were implementing Little Learners, as well as really getting the community on board. I think any school embarking on a science of reading backed approach really needs to think about implementing a program with fidelity. So Little Learners has researched every element. They really are the experts.
So that's all for today's free webinar session. We have a range of professional learning supports that you can access. We have Teaching Little Learners workshops which are held at the Hub in Melbourne, as well as some interstate locations. So have a look at our website or our partner New South Wales Spelled website for dates. We do have workshops that are held online through Zoom, and you do have the option to complete the training in 2 days or 6 after school sessions. And we also take requests to run workshops in your school. The workshops include facilitation from experienced teacher presenters, professional learning materials and resources, and that also includes 4 online pre-workshop modules. They're really hands-on. You get lots of support and coaching to implement the Little Learners routines, and there's lots of pre and post workshop support from all of our team. If you'd like to keep up to date with our resources, our free downloads, our professional learning and more, please sign up to our newsletter using the QR code on the screen. Or if you go to the website, there's a link at the bottom of every page. And when you sign up, you can opt in to receive our blog posts as well. We'd love to see you again for another free webinar. We run webinars on a range of topics once per week during term time. I think next Monday we have explicit teaching is our webinar. So that might be one that you might like to register for. So I might just ask Maureen to pause the recording, and then if anyone has a question, feel free to pop it in the Q&A or raise your little mechanical